Jody Hardesty here with Empowered Heart Connections. As we come up on a new year, many of us decide to create New Year's resolutions. And those look different depending on who we are, but particularly some topics that are challenging to evaluate with these New Year's resolutions are what things to consider whenever we're making New Year's resolutions, how to stick to your goals, and ultimately also differentiating between work goals and personal goals. So those are some of the topics we're going to cover today. So some things to consider when making those New Year's resolutions are to evaluate this past year. What has gone well? What's worked for you? What didn't? Did you learn any lessons from the past year? If mistakes happens, then it's an opportunity for growth. So how did those mistakes happen? What can we learn from them? And are they potentially issues that we can apply to our goals for the New Year resolution? Also, make sure that when you are looking back at those things, it's easy for us to focus on the negatives, but also to evaluate and celebrate the successes that you've had in the last year. What's gone well? What have you done that has really benefited you or made you feel good or improved your life in some way? Make sure that when you do evaluate what these goals are going to be, that they are specific and measurable. So sometimes we have kind of this general idea. Obviously, I'm always motivated for y'all to work on relationships and making connections with other people, but depending on the goal, sometimes people get a little too big. So if you're going to say, hey, my goal is to become an Uber athlete, and for me, that would be a really fantastical goal, right? But how would we do that? So if that's really the goal, do you need to be an Uber athlete, or is it maybe you can increase exercise a bit? And what would that look like? So maybe just narrowing it down a little bit to, I'm going to actually, instead of not going to the gym at all, I'm going to increase my gym attendance by 2 or 3 times a week, right? So having it be specific to the gym, and I'm going to be going to the gym, how many times of frequency. So having it be really specific can be much more easy to apply rather than having a kind of overwhelmingly large goal in mind that may be unsustainable or not really doable. The other thing is to align your resolutions with your value systems and your priorities. So if that is maybe, hey, I want to be more athletic, or I want to maybe take care of my health more, then is that really going to fit in with your schedule, with the way your value system is, which probably most of us it would. But how would that look in your life? Do you really have the bandwidth, the time frame to fit in that extra 2 or 3 trips to the gym, or is there maybe something else that might be more beneficial for you to evaluate? The other thing is to not overwhelm yourself with too many goals, right? We don't want to have 6,000 goals that we're trying to reevaluate and change our whole lives. That's not really sustainable or realistic, but we want to make sure that it is doable, right? Whenever we're creating a new behavior or creating changes in our life, we want to make sure that they're actually manageable and doable so that we're much more likely to follow through with them when we are actually getting those goals that are more reasonable. The other thing is to think short term. So rather than this next year, I'm going to go to the gym 6,000 times, thinking about, hey, I'm going to maybe just make sure that this next couple of months, I'm going to at least go for the gym 2 times a week. I'm going to see if I can increase it over time. But at first, I'm just going to start with a few months to kind of give myself a little bit of a less overwhelming goal in mind. And sometimes you can mix those goals if you have some goals that are more long term, like, hey, I really want to get in shape, or I want to build more muscle, or whatever that looks like, to add some more minor goals to help you feel that sense of accomplishment a little faster. So like adding things like, I'm going to declutter my home. So this next month, I'm going to go through my living room and I'm going to see what I can maybe declutter or not, or my closet, and I'm going to see what's maybe things that I don't ever wear, and I'm going to go through them and minimize that. So adding those more minor, less grand goals to make it more doable and a little more rewarding throughout the year. So you're not just waiting for that end of the year success of having those muscles more developed or feeling more energetic, or whatever it is that your goal is for exercising more or increasing your physical health. Again, those little goals can really make you feel like you're getting something done. And they can also help you motivate to continue to stick with your larger goals when you can see, hey, those little successes are paying off. So ways to stick to those larger goals are to make sure you're breaking them down into smaller steps. So again, rather than having it be this huge milestone at the end of the year that I'm going to be this uber athlete, but breaking it down to more manageable tasks throughout the year. And if maybe the getting to the gym 3 times a week is more than you can break off, for example, then maybe you can like increase the amount of time that you're walking from the car to the grocery store. Like, so I'm going to park further away. So making those kind of more little goals to create that larger milestone can be helpful. And I mentioned kind of we want these goals to be realistic and measurable. This is called the SMART tool, and it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Or time limited. So we want to make sure that they're a specific goal, not this general grandiose goal, and measurable. So how am I going to measure that I'm having success with this? So if your measurement is I'm going to be an uber athlete, that's a little hard to measure within a year, right? But if you're measuring, hey, I'm going to just be more active, or I'm going to have more energy, or because I'm exercising more, I'm taking care of my body or my health, then what would those measurable goals look like? Okay, I am going to the gym 2 times a week, or I am increasing my activity. I have exercised 3 times during the week for the last 2 weeks or 2 months, or however you want to make that time frame. And again, achievable. So uber athlete, not so achievable, but if you're increasing exercise and health, then that is more achievable. And is it relevant to what your goal is? And then we want to have this time limited, right? So I'm going to go to the gym twice a week is a little bit more time limited than I'm just going to get healthy sometime this year, right? We really want to make it specific, measurable, time limited. And then creating that plan. So having a goal in your mind is one thing, right? But having an actual plan is something that's more attainable. It's more realistic. So whenever you are going to write down that plan, you want to have those specifics in there. So what does that look like for me to either, get more exercise, or say you are improving your relationship? What does that look like to improve your relationship? So if that plan is, I really want to make a better connection with my partner. How would you do that? What would you write in that plan? So some examples would be like, increase date nights, or increase time when we spend just connecting on emotional topics, or come up with games that we can do together, or come up with activities that we can do together. And if it is connecting with your partner, you might need to do a little evaluation about what that looks like. What kind of connection with your partner are you lacking or wanting more of? What would that look like? Is that more physical touch? Is that time together? So really evaluating what those are, and then making that plan for what that looks like. Hey, we're going to have date night once a week, or we're going to spend time together every day, just 15 minutes, just connecting on what went well for each other during the day. So really making those tools more manageable by having that plan. And building a support system can be really helpful, especially if you are trying to do something that may be able to involve other people. If you are doing the exercise goal resolution as example, then having some group activities can be helpful. And if not, if it is something that's just more personal, even having someone that you can connect with as like an accountability partner can be helpful. Just kind of, hey, I'm going to connect with my accountability partner once a week or once a month, just to check in, and maybe we can motivate each other with our goals together. Also important to anticipate obstacles. So what happens if you are working on connection and you have a conflict? How do you navigate those conflicts so that you can get back to connecting and not have it be a division between the two of you for a long period of time? Practicing self-compassion is another tool here. So none of us are perfect. We all mess up. We're going to have weeks that our goals are maybe not so great and we're not really accomplishing them as much as we would hope. And that's okay. Give yourself compassion to mess up. The more we give ourselves compassion to mess up, the more likely it is we can get back in the role of participating in those goals, right? But if we are beating ourselves up, it's a whole lot easier to go, you know what, forget it. I can't do this anyways. This is just useless. So I give it up. So don't beat yourself up if you mess up, if you slow down, if you can't quite get your plan made to the way that you wanted it to, it may be time to reevaluate. Hey, maybe I need to modify this plan a little bit, and maybe I've gotten it a little bit unrealistic. Maybe those expectations were maybe a little overboard, right? So maybe I could reel it in a little bit. And then always, no matter what's happening in your life, always celebrate those small wins. So whenever you do have a success, like, hey, I went to the gym 3 times this week, or I went to the gym 2 times this week, or gosh, it's been 3 weeks and I have been consistent with my plan and my goal. Yay me. How do you celebrate those successes? So maybe go out with friends, or even just saying it out loud, acknowledging to yourself that, hey, I did this, I'm doing well, I'm reaching my goal, I'm going to be successful with this goal, can be helpful. And then, as I mentioned, differentiating between work goals and personal goals can be challenging. Sometimes we have this overwhelming, like, I'm going to be better at life. And again, we need to kind of narrow that down a little bit. So work goals, again, focusing on skill acquisition, productivity, or leadership are kind of some examples of this. So again, getting it specific and measurable. So we want to have, what does that look like? So if you're improving your leadership skills, does that mean that is there some sort of certification or some sort of training that you can do by the end of the year to really help you get in that direction? What does that look like? So, or achieve a 20% increase in sales, depending on what your job is, obviously. Improve my time management. So again, having it be specific and measurable can really make it much more attainable. And work goals often align with your role, your team objectives, long-term career plans, right? So evaluating what those are for you to assess what those goals need to be. And then personal goals are obviously typically more around our personal growth, our health, our relationships, or even sometimes our hobbies. If we want to, increase those activities that we do that we enjoy, really, again, making those specific and measurable. So spend 30 minutes a day on self-care. So run a half marathon, learn to play the guitar, take singing lessons. So whatever those look like for you, to again make those examples kind of more specific and measurable so that you can make them more likely to be successful. And these personal goals usually contribute to your well-being or happiness outside of professional achievements. So making sure to kind of make those distinction so that you're not trying to overwhelm yourself with combining those two, right? I want to be a better leader. Well, what does that look like in my personal life? Or I want to have better time management. Can you apply those two to your work life and personal life? And if you can, to kind of separate the two and what that looks like so that you can have some differentiation about how to make those measurable in each context. All right, I hope you have all found this helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you are enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching.